On today's episode of the Broadway Shuffle, Texas Tech defeats West Virginia. We preview the rematch with Houston and talk about where we stand going into March Madness. That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. Welcome to episode 55 of the Broadway Shuffle. I'm Conrad, and with me today is Zyler. Zyler, it's a little lonely today with just me and you. Any idea where Brennan and Clayton are?
Yeah, I'm going to leave that up to the listeners to speculate.
Okay.
If you listened all the way through our last episode, maybe you have a good idea. But we are going to need some help today. It's just me and Conrad. So if you've got Tommy Tubervilles that you think we should be shouting out, make sure to put those in the comments. But yeah, we're really excited. The people have been asking, we just want to hear Zyler and Conrad. We just want to hear Zyler and Conrad. They're the only ones with good takes. And so we decided to deliver and give the people what they wanted.
Yeah, you got to give the people what they want, man, and that's what we're here doing today. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, make sure to give us a follow and give us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. 55% of you listening to this episode are not going to be subscribed to the channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Zyler, to start us off, we got to talk about basketball. We got to talk basketball team. They're doing really well right now, bouncing back after the loss against TCU. What are your thoughts on the initial victory over West Virginia on Saturday?
Yeah, pretty good game. I mean, you beat them by margin. You beat them by more than what the KenPom projection was. That was projected at an 11 to 12 point game. The line got all the way down to 8.5 when it was announced that Chance was out. And so to beat that line, you won by 20 plus. That's great for you. Tough for West Virginia. They're, kind of just hanging on the bubble. Definitely not out, but, probably a 10 to an 11 seed right now. So that would have been a big win for them. It's not necessarily a huge win for you, but it rights the ship after the TCU loss, kind of stabilizes you. I was talking with some guys on the Trilly Donovan Discord burner, and of the teams seeded at the back half of the 2 line all the way to the top of the 5 line over this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they went 3-9. So just by winning, you're going to move up a little bit. You were one of the 3 teams that didn't take a loss. So that's really good for you. You'll probably be a high-end 4 seed, maybe a low-end 3 seed. It depends on kind of your flavor of the week. But yeah, good effort. I thought Clayton Anderson was wonderful, stepped up excellently for Chance, and did a lot on the defensive side of the ball where, Chance really has improved a ton, and where Christian's definitely been weaker. They were hunting him in the TCU game, and I thought he had an excellent effort there. So Conrad, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it was really encouraging to see Christian kind of have a bounce back game in a way. I mean, he didn't particularly play all that well in Fort Worth on Tuesday night, so to see him bounce back was really good to see. Although I'm sure Chance is okay, just more of a precautionary thing. I hope. Don't have any inside information there, but seeing the field goal percentage at 46 and then the 3-point percentage at 40, almost basically 41. I mean, those are 2 encouraging things, and out rebounding them by 10. I mean, those are big numbers. I know it's West Virginia; they're not the best program right now. Started off maybe a little bit better than they're playing right now, but seeing what we were able to do and bouncing back, that was my concern, right? Because the TCU game, it still stings, to be honest. I mean, you win that game, and we're maybe having a different conversation going into tonight against Houston, and so that was fun for us to see us bounce back like this. And so I think that's going to make a big difference with the team's motivation and psyche going into Monday night, because Monday night's a big game, but you had to get this one. If you would have dropped TCU and then West Virginia back to back, I would have been pretty scared, even though the TCU game was on the road. But I think all is well in Raiderland, and we've righted the ship. So was really happy to see that. Zyler, any other thoughts on that? Did you have anything that maybe that was discouraging to you about the game? I know we did beat the KenPom line, but that's still, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you're up to 7th in KenPom, which is really impressive. You're playing like a top 7 team in the country, and that was a top 15 defense that West Virginia brought in. That was not any slouch. And truth be told, I didn't know that until after the game, and you couldn't have convinced me that. I mean, it looked like you basically got whatever you want. You scored really, really efficiently against West Virginia, and you also got some stuff off the bench. That's something in the games that we've lost. You've always felt like, man, where has your bench been? I thought Kevin Overton gave you some really good stuff. And I know Federico didn't have his best game. He still has turnover problems. He can't catch the ball very well. But I thought the minutes he gave you we're fine. And he did good defensively, and that's really, you play both sides, and sometimes the box score doesn't always reveal what a player was doing on the defensive end of the ball. But I mean, you scored 1.15 points per possession against that defense. That'll play. If you could get that in every single game this year, I would take it. So excellent performance from your team. Toppin was great again. Really, the big concerns that I have is you got 1 day break on Sunday, and then you got to play Houston. So you're going to need Darian to be healthy. You're going to need Chance McMillan to be healthy. If you don't have those two guys, I'm not going to say you can't win, because we lost Toppin and McCaslin on the road and somehow found a way to beat Houston. But Houston is very, very good. The last loss that they have on the season was when they lost to you in overtime. So they're going to be motivated. I think you're going to have to play really well, and it's a lot harder to play well without Chance and Darian.
Yeah, and kind of going off that, what we got to have a conversation that we've had a few times this year, talking about Mr. Kerwin Walton. 20 minutes yesterday, 0 of 1 from the field. It was a 3-point attempt, 3 rebounds. What are we got to do about Kerwin? How can we help Kerwin get back on track? Because he's had some games that were huge this year, but it seems like it's kind of been up and down. So what are your thoughts there in terms of how we get Kerwin back on the right track?
Yeah, I thought it was a tough matchup. Some of those wing defenders are more athletic than what he's going to see typically. Now, you get in the tournament, I think as you get further and further, if you're fortunate enough to go so far, you're not going to have any bad wing defenders that you're going to run into. So, I mean, Kerwin's got to hit shots to get going. I don't think the game plan really centered around Kerwin. I think we were doing a lot of stuff with Christian and D5 and Toppin, and that was kind of where the offense was going. And, to the bench's credit, I thought Kevin Overton stepped up when Kerwin didn't really have his best stuff tonight. And that's what we said. Can you get 10 to 12 points out of your bench? Or I guess 10 to 12 points out of your non-top 5 minute getters. So Kerwin, Kevin Overton, and Federico. And you did. I think you got what you needed from the bench to win that game, and your guys did enough to win in the starting lineup that, you should be fine.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to see us get back on track, but also, I think where we are right now, because we understand how good this team is and the metrics show that they're fantastic. We're always just kind of wanting more, right? We're always kind of thinking, okay, how can we get everybody to play together and play a complete game? Because it's still, you've done that, it's, I guess, a little bit, but you're always concerned of how can we be better, because seeing this team and where we've been and what we've done so far this year, it just really feels like, okay, if you can get everyone clicking, if you can get everyone going, and this thing does mesh together, it just feels like there really is a potential for something special in March. Because we've talked about teams that we do want to face and we don't want to face, but if we could just get our team going, you never know who's going to lose, right? There's going to be upsets, things are going to happen, and so that'll be interesting to see if everybody can play together tonight. You're listening to this Monday morning, we're recording it Sunday afternoon, but it'll be a good game tonight. I'm excited to see what happens. And Zyler, what are your keys to the game, unless you have anything to add to the West Virginia conversation? I know pretty great game, but anything else to add before we look to Houston?
No, I think Houston is. I'm not necessarily, especially if Chance is out and Darian's limited. That's going to change my expectation. I expect you to battle, though. You're a team that doesn't get blown out. I expect you to have a great game plan. The thing is, man, how often does Houston get up for Big 12 games? They basically just get to kill everybody. This is going to be their one revenge spot game of the year. You're the only team that has beaten them, and then they get to come try to do it in your house. I expect an amped environment. It's just going to be tough, man. They're really good. They play really good defense. They're a great team. You're going to have to shoot really well. You can't have a 30% from 3.9 and expect to win, and you're going to need them to miss some shots. I think rebounding will always be critical against Houston. You can't just let them play volleyball and get all their misses. You got to hold LJ Cryer, in check. If they beat you in the mid-range, if Uzon and Sharp and Roberts are hitting mid-range floaters, and that's just how they beat you, I think you live with that. What you don't want is them getting a ton of kick-out threes, a ton of transition threes. That's what you don't want. I expect our staff to have a really good plan. You need to be healthy. You need Chance to play. You need Darian to play, and you need Darian to be full go. But Houston also hasn't seen Toppin. They only got to play 3 minutes against him in the Houston game, and you were up whenever he went out of the game. So maybe Toppin is a difference maker. They've got really long bigs. They don't have anybody over 6'7", though. They do have really long wingspans, so it's 7'6", 7'7". So don't be deceived by that. But Toppin, I think he should have an okay game against Houston. He's just going to have to finish strong, hopefully get fouled, maybe get a friendly whistle at the USA. I think you have a chance. That Houston team's really, really good.
Yeah, JT. It'll be interesting. Houston has a revenge game, but I think also JT and Grant have a revenge game as
That's
well.
a
I
great
mean,
angle.
they're obviously really happy that we won that first game in Houston, but the reality is, JT, that was a nationally televised matchup. I mean, everybody was looking at that Texas Tech Houston game, rightfully so, and it was a fantastic game from start to finish. But the two guys that you could honestly argue are the two most important guys on our team, with Grant and then JT. Obviously, Grant not being a player, but they didn't even get to participate in that game. And
Mm-hmm.
happy that it worked out that way because you did get the win. But I almost wonder, okay, Grant, how does Grant feel about this? Because Grant knows he's
Yeah.
got a good team. But looking at JT as well, I mean, that JT was kind of, he was really kind of snubbed from that. I mean, no, he absolutely was snubbed from that game. We don't even need to go
Yeah.
back to what happened there. But seeing JT and how amped up he'll probably be for this game with his home crowd behind him, I think he'll be wanting to show that he's one of the best players in the country. Which when he'll show up for a big game, I have full confidence in that. I do share your no, I don't want to call it pessimism, but maybe a realistic view on it too. Is just Houston is so good, and beating them once is an accomplishment in and of itself. Beating them twice, that's unheard of. That would
Yep.
I don't even know what would that do for you in terms of seating perspective if we did win tonight.
Yeah, I think you automatically put yourself right there at the middle of the top of the 3 seed line because it's one of the best ones your resume can get. This is the a top 2, top 3 team in the net. It's the top team on Bart Torvik. It's going to give you a monster resume boost just because it's such an elite win. The
Mhm.
committee loves wins against projected or protected seeds, so top 4 seeds in Houston. Houston's pushing for the 1 seed right now. They're probably the 5th overall seed. They're waiting
Mhm.
on one of those SEC teams to slip up and drop a few games. If Florida or Alabama drop 2 games over the last 4 or 5, Houston's going to slide right in because
Mhm.
they're pretty much 5th in all the metrics. So they're going to be motivated. I kind of wish they would have already clinched the Big 12. They're going to win it by 2 or 3 games, but I guess it's still technically in doubt, and you're technically the team with the best chance to catch them. But it's pretty much wrapped up by now, and I wish it was. I wish Kelvin was like resting a few guys or something like that, because man.
Do you
But it'd be
think
a
he'd
great
do that though, coming to Lubbock, knowing
no.
you lost the first game?
No, I feel like it helps with the mindset. I feel like Houston's got every sort of motivational angle right now. There's no reason to back Tech. Like 2 of your stars are injured. Houston coming on the revenge game, short
Mhm.
week of rest or like short rest time. Man, it's just that's a tough situation. But yeah, the nice thing about playing a game like this is losing it doesn't really hurt you. You'd add a Q&A home loss, and you don't want to ever add home losses, but this isn't like losing to Arizona State at home or something like that. So I don't want
Or
to say you should be
UCF.
content. Yeah, or UCF. Those are really damaging losses. No committee member is going to look at your resume and say, "Oh, you lost to Houston. You're getting dinged for that." That's not going to happen. And a win would be monumental for you. A season
Yeah.
sweep of Houston is probably the best 2-game stretch that anybody could really show the committee. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Opportunities abound.
Yeah, and thinking about, you mentioned I'm willing to concede. I think we did basically that on our last episode where we said, yeah, it's pretty much over. Houston's got the Big 12, especially after the loss to TCU. I know
Mhm.
we're tied obviously with Arizona right now in second, and we'll definitely finish top 4, I would think, at this point in the Big 12 standings. What do you think you would have said if I would have said on December 15th, Zyler, we have a very good shot to finish second in the Big 12 this year. Obviously, we would have taken it, but what do you think you would have said?
Yeah, I mean, I guess December 15th, we hadn't played in that New Year's turn, and we hadn't played A&M yet, right? Or had we? Anyway,
I
let's just
think
say pre-Big 12 play. I would have
okay.
taken it. I would have been really, really excited. Yeah, you've got essentially a 97% chance to finish top 4.
Mhm.
5th place is BYU, and they're 10-6, so they're 2 games behind you, but you own the tiebreaker. Kansas could technically still catch you, but they're 3 games back with 4 games left, and you've got a game against Colorado at home, which should be an easy dub, and that would kind of eliminate Kansas from taking your spot. Plus, you're a game ahead of Iowa State and a game ahead of Arizona. But yeah, Houston's 3 games up. It's just crazy how they've dominated this league. I'd
Mhm.
be super happy though with the top 4 seed. That's what I'm really looking for. I think that gives you more than anything, like top 4 doesn't matter. It gives you an extra day of rest. You're only the maximum amount of games you could play in the Big 12 tournament is 3. Gives your guys an opportunity to catch a breather. So that's what I'm really looking for, is getting these guys some rest, and getting a top 4 seed does that for you.
Yeah. And we were high on this team before. I remember conversations we had on the pod and then just texting as well. I mean, we were like, this team could be
Mhm.
dangerous, and it was dicey there to start a little bit. We were questioning some different things after some games, really games that you should have could have won. Obviously, that's the way we prefer to look at things. But now sitting where we are in late February, it's just really it's sweet to see how things did come together and how there still is room to grow. My concern would be kind of at this point with looking at this roster with the injuries that have kind of not plagued us, because you haven't had guys out for necessarily extended periods of time, but you have had guys miss games and people limit, obviously Darion limited and different things like that. Toppin's ankle has been plaguing him throughout the year, but in Big 12 play, you've really had everybody. I just hope that we can get completely healthy
Yep.
before March, because if you can get this roster completely healthy, locked in with a Grant and a Grant game plan for March, depending on who you
Mhm.
play, I think it can be really, really dangerous. But looking back, I would have been extremely excited at this team being where it is today, because that means that you're better than Baylor, you're better than Kansas, you're better than Iowa State, you're better than Arizona. All these schools that we thought, okay, they're great schools, they have solid success in their history in basketball. This year, you're better than them, and I think that hopefully that bodes well for the future of this program as well. I know we want to enjoy the moment, but just also thinking about what this season can do to propel you into the future of Texas Tech basketball as well.
Yeah, one thing, Saturday I forgot to mention, it was pretty much a perfect day for Tech fans.
Mm-hmm.
You got a win, and then A&M lost, UT lost, TCU lost, and Baylor lost. So you got all of those 5 events happening at the same time. I'll take that any day of the week. It was a good week for you as a basketball fan.
You
Conrad,
mean to tell me that TCU and Baylor lost on the same day?
yeah, it was unbelievable. I
February
couldn't believe it.
22nd, a national holiday is
Yep,
born. It was
Conrad
already
was over the moon.
but it was already, and just a shout out to I guess our subscriber of the week and listener of the week. My brother's birthday was actually on February 22nd, and he is an Aggie, and he yet listens to every single episode of the Broadway Shuffle. He texts me when there's not an episode, which has only been once, and says, "Where is an episode?" So shout out to Trent, who turned 26. So yes, on Saturday. So
Very cool. Shout out Trent.
yeah.
Conrad, shifting into something that I know you're excited to talk about. Basketball season is very much in swing, but spring ball is about 2 weeks away for you and your team. It's right around the corner. You're going to start seeing all those videos of the guys. I know they're putting all the videos of everyone working out and doing all that stuff. But yeah, give me some of your thoughts on spring ball. I had a few questions I wanted to run by you today. Who for you, and this can be coach, this can be player, who needs to have the biggest spring for the Texas Tech football team in 2025?
My answer might surprise our listeners, but probably the person that needs to have the biggest spring in 2025 would be Conrad Mills, new Texas Tech walk-on quarterback. We've had that conversation here before, and I'm pleased to. No, I'm just kidding. I think so. I would say maybe not necessarily an individual, although I think you can take that angle. I would. I really want to see the offensive line have a big spring. Not only in figuring out who's going to play on that offensive line, where they're going to play, but how they work together, right? I mean, I think that's a big part of an offensive line that's successful and good at protecting their quarterback and good at run blocking is them being able to play together. And so that would be my answer, because I just think you need to see an offensive line, obviously, that's better than what we had last year, but just one that can be not only good, but I would hope that after all the money we spent and the guys we brought in, that they could be top 3, top 4 in the conference, because that's what you're expecting. And so for me, I'd probably just say the offensive line as a group, whether that's Hunter Zambrano or any of the various other pieces we brought in. Would you echo that
I mean,
sentiment? Or
you could say Clay McGuire. I mean, the offensive
Clay?
line
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
I mean, that could be the guy. I mean,
yeah,
you're going to be working. So no Caleb Rogers, but you get Davian Carter back. But
yeah.
you'll have Sheridan Wilson come back, and I mean, it'll kind of be a mix though there at left tackle, left guard, and right tackle on who's going to take over. Yeah, I think big spring for Clay McGuire. I think if I had to pick a player, it's Ben Roberts probably needs to have a great spring. I don't know that he had an excellent sophomore campaign. I think he needs a big bounce back spring to kind of
Yeah.
solidify his spot there. I'll be interested to see if, John Curry or Dingle, or I know Horn's recovering from an injury, but do any of those guys push him? So that would be one of the guys that I would potentially look at. I think maybe it's kind of the same question, but who do you think's under the most pressure as a player this spring? I know it's Barron's not playing or practicing, so he would have been the guy I would have said. But if it's not Barron, who is it to you, player or coach?
That's such a difficult question, honestly. And I was thinking about it before the show, but you can you can take a bunch of different angles with this. A player, I think I'm gonna have to piggyback on. I mean, you said it, but I think Ben Roberts would actually be a better answer to this question,
Yeah,
because like you said, he was not what we had hoped last year. All the different media outlets were saying, "Hey, this guy's going to be a, he's a contender to maybe win some awards if he continues to progress." But he didn't, and I'm okay saying that. Ben's a great guy, I'm sure, but he would probably even tell you, "Yeah, I could have had a better season than I did," and so he really intrigues me because of what you saw from him his freshman year, and then the lull that you saw in his sophomore year. So that's someone that I think is under some pressure. Another guy that maybe isn't. I don't know how do you quantify this in terms of if he's under pressure, but I'd love to see Brendan Jordan continue to improve.
yeah.
Good player for you, 4-star recruit out of Mansfield. Did some good things this year, but also had some lapses, as everybody on the defensive side of the ball did at certain points. And so I'd be interested to see what spot he kind of moves into. Obviously, with CJ leaving, I don't know if he'd really step into that spot at all, if that's a conversation. But I'm sure there are a lot of conversations of, okay, where do you take some of these guys in this new system under Coach Wood and place them so they can have success not only individually but as a unit? Who do you think? Would you say the same thing for Ben, or do you think there's somebody maybe on the offensive side of the ball that you say it needs to have a big spring or is under a lot of pressure?
Yeah, I think Ben would have been a good answer here. I think Coy Aiken needs a big spring. I think there's younger guys that are going to push him. If Micah rejoins the team in the summer or anything like that,
Mm.
maybe he would push him. But you didn't add a ton there in the portal, so you're feeling confident in that room. And I say room, strategically, not just your starters, but the guys that are behind them. I think Coy needs to have a big
Yeah.
spring. Not that I thought he was a bad player by any stretch, but a lot of guys. Something I'm really thankful for is that we get 3 relatively easy games to start the year. Now, I don't want to say that about Oregon State. They're going to have a good team, and you're going to have to play well to win. We forget, man. I'm going to have to learn a bunch of new positions because we've got a brand new defensive scheme. So,
Yeah.
what a free safety might have been asked to do under DeRuiter is going to be asked to do something a little bit different. Now, at the end of the day, you still got to be able to tackle, you got to be able to catch, you got to be able to cover. Those base skills still remain. But what you're asked to do from an assignment perspective and the terminology and the lingo, I'm glad we're going to have a few games to experiment and kind of work some things out. Now, hopefully those teams aren't pushing you to where you're really figuring it out. But thankful for that. I'm thankful we don't have like an Oregon or like a Wyoming on the road to start the year. I think seasoning is going to be important for these guys. And that kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about next. Are you more excited for the offense or the defense schematically this year?
Yeah, it's hard not to be excited about the offense because of what Coach Leftwich did at Texas State. But it's also really easy to be excited about the defense as well, just considering how bad we were last year. I'm going to say the offense, obviously because of who Coach Leftwich is, but also because of all the new pieces that you have. I mean, you've got some guys that can play there. Yeah,
Mhm.
you lost Taj, you lost Josh Kelly, you lost Caleb Rogers, but you also gained, I think, a whole lot more than you lost. I mean, Terrence Carter there. I think you're going to have. A couple new offensive linemen. You're going to have Quentin Joyner from USC. I mean, you just got some
Mhm.
dudes, and I think Coach Leftwich is going to look at that and say, "Man, I've got all these toys that we can put in different positions and see how they can really explode this." And I will say on the offensive side of the ball, I am extremely intrigued to see how Will Hammond fits. in this system. I think Will Hammond could fit in any system, to be completely honest, because I just think that's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of player he is. That's the kind of student of the game that he is. But seeing what Leftwich's system will be, and just hearing the reports, because none of the practices, from my understanding, will be open, and that's how it should be in this day and age, in my opinion. But just thinking about how Will fits and how Will quarterbacks this offense in Barron's absence this spring. So would you say the same thing about the offense, or are you going to be more of a defensive guy today?
Dude, I'm not usually an optimist when it comes to especially tech football. It's just burned me too many times. I am incredibly optimistic about what your defense could potentially be. I think you could be looking at like a top 30 unit. I think that'd be great if you offered that to me right now.
You heard it here first.
I think Shile would. Just what I've read, what he said on interviews, sounds like it's going to be a very good system. I think it's going to frustrate a lot of teams. Now, I think there's some weaknesses that could be exploited. And I think we're going to have to figure out a lot of our personnel, especially on the defensive line and where we're running 3 and 4 down sets. But I'm way more excited for the defense. Can you stay healthy? Can you keep some of those interior game wreckers healthy through the spring and make sure that we're ready to go when fall comes around? So that's definitely who I am most excited about. We're going to get into a lot more spring ball discussion as we get closer. That's kind of a teaser, because it's only 2 weeks away. February wraps up so quickly. It's
just, only 28 days.
It's crazy how quickly it goes. But speaking of teasers, we at the Broadway Shuffle are going to be announcing something here in the next week that we're pretty excited about. It's something Brennan, Clayton, Conrad, and I have all been working on diligently. Something that we're really excited to a group we're really excited to collaborate with. We think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to bringing you guys a lot of new and potentially different avenues for content sourcing. So that's kind of all I'll say about it right now. We're going to announce it here pretty soon, but looking forward to exploring potential opportunities to expand our audience and work with some really neat people. So be on the lookout for that in the next 7-ish days. It'll either be on our Wednesday episode or on our episode at the beginning of next week. So should be pretty exciting. Conrad, anything you want to add there?
No, I just think I think the listeners should comment below and tell us what they think the collaboration and the affiliation might be. I mean, there's a billion things it could be, and we want to hear from you, because we'll tell you. We just got to tease it a little bit to make it interesting, and we're not going to let you down. This isn't a fake tease in a way. It's going to materialize. Like there is something coming that we think you'll be excited about and look forward to. So it'll be fun for us. I mean, it's kind of I wouldn't say a dream come true, but just something that we never thought would happen in August when we started this show, hoping to get us 100 subscribers. And now you guys seem to like listening to us. And so we're going to keep posting content and hopefully do it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's crazy that the playoff committee recognized our input so much that they're asking us to, potentially, collaborate with them on who should be in and who should be out. Our rants in November and December finally made it through.
I hear Ward Manuel is actually going to hire you to come work at Michigan and be his advisor for the College Football Playoff Committee. Is that right, Zyler?
Yeah, it's actually crazy. What I'm going to do is if I see the SEC or Big Ten logo, you get deducted 4 spots just immediately, and then we go from there because you have so many advantages. Yeah, really excited about that. We don't have to talk about that too much longer. The segment that I am really excited to talk about, Tommy Tuberville's of the Week. Conrad, I will let you start this one off. And one other piece before you go. If there are Tommy Tubervilles of the Week that we have failed to mention, please let us know who those are. We had some really good ones. The guy from McChance Million or something, I forget his Twitter username, saying that Tommy Tuberville should be our Tommy Tuberville of the Week was hilarious. We love seeing that stuff. So let us know. And since I guess Clayton and Brendan aren't here today, we need some extra fill-ins. So let us know. But Conrad, your Tommy Tuberville of the Week.
Yeah, so this individual, I actually meant to talk about him a few weeks ago, but didn't. I guess we just forgot. But his name is Joe Bleymaier, I think is his name. He is the Kansas City Chiefs passing game coordinator. And I just want to read a quote he said about coaching Patrick Mahomes. You think that any coach in the world would think, yes, I want to coach Patrick Mahomes. I will leave wherever I am to go coach a guy like that. But maybe not Coach Bleymaier. He said this: it makes it so much more stressful. You feel the burden as a coach and as you're putting together a game plan not to waste his abilities. to not go through a season where you don't give him the opportunity, to not screw it up as the coaching staff. So rather than feeling this unbridled excitement that we could do anything, it's actually more like a terror. Like we cannot be the reason that we screwed this guy or this team up. Could you imagine saying something like that? He also, in another quote, called it a burden and a terror coaching Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I just have a really hard time with someone not only thinking that but also saying that, because I think maybe their coaching over the past few years has been maybe the reason he wasn't as successful as he was in the regular season, at least in the early years of his career. And so, just I don't know if I would ever choose the words burden and terror to describe coaching Patrick Mahomes. Zyler, do you have any thoughts? Do you agree with Coach Blameyer?
Yeah, man, that's tough. I don't know why that got leaked or why he said any of that. That's
Yeah.
not a great way to vouch for yourself moving forward. I'll be shocked if there aren't changes in that personnel space.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great one. I think it's something that we should have mentioned, and probably the reason you lost the Super Bowl. So if you take him out, Pat's actually he's got 4 Super Bowls. So
yeah,
hang the
I'm still
banner.
not recovered to fully talk about the Super Bowl in the way that I want to. So if we could table that conversation and kick it down the line a little bit, maybe till next January, that'd be really helpful.
I think that's a great idea. My Tommy Tuberville of the week, this is going to be a back-to-back offender for me. It's going to be SMU basketball again. I'm very locked in on the bracketology side right now. SMU had another chance against a tournament team this week at home. They've gotten to play 5 teams at home that are going to be in the tournament this year. They lost to Mississippi State by 5, 27 to Duke, 25 to Louisville, 11 to Wake Forest, and 10 points to Clemson. Average margin of defeat, 15.6 points. I keep seeing everyone talk about how SMU needs to be in the tournament, and I just cannot believe that that's actually a discussion. SMU basketball, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week. Get out of my tournament.
SMU, man, they find a way to make Clayton and Zyler mad on the podcast. Rhett Lashley and the SMU basketball program. I don't know what it is about that school in Dallas, man. You'd think they could just buy everybody, isn't that true?
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah. Do we so as we close the show, just being Zyler and myself, make sure to like this video. If you're still listening to this point and you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you even doing listening this far? This is a fun show, but you got to subscribe to the channel to make sure you get all of our updated content. Zyler, do we have a tech trivia today to close the show?
Absolutely. I was thinking about, this basketball team has played, exceptionally well. They're ranked 7th in KenPom. That's kind of the big metric that everybody's tracking. We've had 3 really good teams in the past 6 years. You had obviously the 2019 team. You had the 2018 team. Actually, we'll say 4. The 2018 basketball team, the 2019 basketball team, the 2022 basketball team, and the 2025 basketball team. Now, I know that the 25 season hasn't ended yet, but if you had to rank those teams on their adjusted efficiency margin in KenPom, do you know the correct order?
So I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think I could name the exact order, so I don't even really want to try. But I will say, I know the 25 season isn't over.
Mm-hmm.
But is it outlandish for me to say that the 25 team is number 1 on that list?
I will let you list your 4 in a row, and then I will tell you if that's outlandish or not.
Okay, I'll do 25 first, 2019 second, 2018. No, 22 third, and then 2018 fourth.
You almost had it. It's actually 2019 is ahead by about 3 points, and then it's 2025 ahead of the 2022 team by like 2.5 points. Then it's 22, and then it's 2018. So you're this is the second best. Yeah, very close. This is the second best basketball season though that any of us have really ever seen as Tech fans. So enjoy it. We only get 4 more regular season games with these guys. You're only guaranteed 6 more games with this team. You're guaranteed at least 1 Big 12 tournament game and then an NCAA tournament game. But crazy to think about that we could only see Chance, Darian, Toppin, Elijah Hawkins, Federico, Kerwin. They only get at most 6 more games. I hope it's a lot more. I hope it's 15 more games or something like that. But just enjoy the run, enjoy the ride, and don't let the losses get you too down. This is a really, really good team and something we should be really proud of as Tech fans. So that's all I got.
And the best part is there's always, even though there are only 6 guaranteed more, Houston, we don't get that win against Houston. There's always another game after that. So we have a time to bounce back, and we have time to rebound, and that's what we did on Saturday against West Virginia. So thank you for listening to the show. We appreciate all the listens, the likes, the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure to comment below, and we'll see you next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.